Hello everyone, welcome to the new session of this unit that is nothing but semiconducting materials. In the last session we have discussed about energy bands, and according to the energy bands what are the materials classification will be there. According to that, conductors, insulators and semiconductors will be defined. Now in this session we are going to discuss the semiconducting materials in a detail. The first question is what are the semiconductors? Now, semiconductors are the materials which have a conductivity between conductors, generally mentioned as metals, and non-conductors or called as insulators. The semiconductors are the compounds such as gallium arsenide or pure elements such as germanium or silicon. The physics explains the theories, properties, and mathematical approach governing the semiconductors. The semiconductors are nothing but the properties of conducting and insulating material included in that material. The semiconducting material should be behaves some properties of conducting material as well as some properties of insulating material. The examples of semiconductors are gallium arsenide, germanium, and silicon are most widely used semiconductors in various applications. The silicon is used in electronic circuit for fabrication, and the gallium arsenide is used in solar cells, laser diodes, etc. The semiconductors have sufficient number of free electrons, and their number increases with increase in temperature. However, the number of free electrons in a semiconductor is much less than that in a metal. We will define the properties of materials by studying the changes in energy levels that occurs when a large number of atoms comes together to form a solid. Now, the holes and electrons in a semiconductor. Holes and electrons are the types of charge carriers accountable for the flow of current in a semiconductor. The holes, which should be called as valence electrons, are the positively charged electric charge carriers, whereas the electrons are the negatively charged particles in the semiconductor. Both these electrons and holes are equal in magnitude but opposite in polarity in the semiconducting material. When an electron breaks a covalent bond and becomes free, a vacancy is created in the broken covalent bond, and this vacancy should be called as hole. Thus, the corresponding to every free electron, a hole is created. Therefore, the number of free electrons generated due to increased temperature is exactly equal to the number of holes. As the free electrons and holes gets generated in pairs, they are called as thermally generated electron hole pair by keeping note that in this pair the hole is a valence band while the electron is in the conduction band. The mobility of electrons and holes. In a semiconductor, the mobility of electrons is higher than that of the holes. It is mainly because there are different band structures and scattering mechanisms in the semiconducting material. The electrons travel in the conduction band, whereas holes travel in the valence band. When an electric field is applied, holes cannot move as freely as electrons due to their restricted moment. The elevation of electrons from their inner shells to higher shells results in the creation of holes in a semiconductor. Since the holes experience stronger atomic force by the nucleus than electrons, holes have lower mobility. The mobility of a particle in a semiconductor is more if there are two conditions. The first one, the effective mass of a particle is lesser, and the second one, time between scattering event is more. The mobility of electrons and holes should be totally depends upon band structure and scattering mechanism present in the semiconducting material. When we have to be observed that semiconducting material, we observe that the mobility of electrons is higher than that of holes. The electrons are traveled in a conduction band, whereas the holes we should be traveled in the valence band. When an electrical field, external electrical field is applied, then the holes cannot move as freely as the electrons should be flow due to the restricted moment of that semiconducting material. And hence it should be results the creation of holes in that semiconducting material. The mobility of a particle in that semiconducting material is more if the two conditions should be satisfied. The first one is that the effective mass of a particle is lesser, and the second one, the time between scattering event is more. For intrinsic silicon at 300 K, the mobility of electron is 1500 centimeters square, and the mobility of electrons is 475 centimeters square at the semiconducting material. The bond model of electrons in a silicon of valency 4 is shown in the figure. When one of the free electron, that should be indicated with the blue dots, leaves the lattice position, it creates a hole, should be indicated with the gray dots. This hole thus created takes the opposite charge of the electron and can be imaginated as positive charge carriers moving in the lattice. This is the concept of electrons and holes in the semiconducting materials. Okay, when the two atoms present over here, let us suppose this is an silicon atom present over here. This electron should be moved to create a bond with another atom. When this electron is shifted to the another atom, then the vacancy should be created over here, and that vacancy should be called as a hole. Whereas this blue dot should be nothing but the free electron which should be available in a conduction band. The hole is in a valence band because it should be only creates when the hole or the electron should be shifted from one orbit to the another orbit or one atom to the another atom. So this is how the two atoms are stabilized with the help of this hole electron pair with the various structures. Over here the yellow dots should be having the hole and the blue dots is having the free electron. So this is how the generation of hole and electrons will be there. We again discuss this point. When an electron breaks a covalent bond and becomes free, a vacancy is created in that covalent bond. This vacancy is nothing but hole. Thus, it corresponding to every free electron, a hole is created. Therefore, the number of electrons generated due to the increased temperature is exactly equal to the number of holes. As the free electrons and holes gets generated in pairs, they are called as thermally generated electron hole pairs. By keeping note that in this pair the hole is in the valence band while the electron is in the conduction band. The electrons and holes both can operate as a charge carriers. A hole is said to be positive charge carrier as it is nothing but the absence of an electron, whereas the generation of electron hole pair is the negative charge carriers. The holes and electrons are evolved or performed in the most widely used semiconducting material, that is in a silicon or germanium. The band theory of semiconductors. The introduction of a band theory happened due to the quantum revolution in science. Walter Hitler and Fritz London discovered the energy bands. We know that the electrons in an atom are present in different energy levels. When we try to assemble a lattice of a solid with n atoms, then each level of an atom must split up into n levels in the solid. This splitting up of sharp and tightly packed energy levels forms an energy bands. The gap between adjacent band and representing a range of energies that passes no electron is called as a band gap. This is the structure of band theory of a semiconductor. We can start with A. Let us consider the insulating material over here. This is the conduction band, the valence band present over here, and this is the filled band. Okay, so as we have discussed, the conduction band and valence band, they should be having a larger energy gap where the electrons are unable to move from conduction band to valence band or vice versa to flow through it. Means what? If we apply a larger energy to the insulating material, then also the electrons are unable to move from one orbit to other orbit or one atom to the another atom due to the larger band gap between them, and henceforth the insulator should be having no any charge carriers moving between them. Because of that, the material becomes an insulating material. Whereas in a semiconducting material, the energy gap between or the band gap between conduction band and valence band should be a smaller one or moderate. Means what? The electrons or holes are transferred within the bands only when the external energy or temperature it should be applied for that semiconducting material. Now in this semiconducting material, the transformation of electron hole pair is available only when some external electrical energy or temperature it should be applied. So in this type of material, the transformation of that electrons is having the condition. That condition is nothing but when we apply a particular type of a force, that is electrical energy and temperature towards an semiconducting material, then only the conduction and valence band should be having the transformation of electrons should be there. In the third diagram, that is the purely conducting metal, the conduction band and valence band they are overlapped with each other. Due to that, the electron hole pairs are easily transformed from conduction band to valence band and vice versa. Due to that, the easily transformation of current or easily transformation of electron hole pairs should be there, and according to that, the conducting materials should be easily flow the current, and this is nothing but the three different types of situations where the band gap or the energy gap should defines the particular materials of solid. The classification of the band gap or the energy gap between that semiconducting materials is nothing but or the according to only the valence band and conduction band distance or the separation of that particular band gap theory. In an insulator, the band gap between conduction band and valence band should be highest one. In a semiconducting material, conduction band and valence band should have the moderate energy gap, whereas in a conducting material, the conduction band and valence band have a zero band gap or energy gap. Due to that, the electrons are moved easily in between them. So according to the band gap theory, we will be define the following bands regarding with this diagram. The energy, first one, that is nothing but the valence band. The energy band involving the energy levels of valence electrons is known as valence band. It is the highest occupied energy band. When compared with insulators, the band gap in semiconductors is smaller. It allows the electrons in the valence band to jump into the conduction band on receiving any external energy. The valence band should be shifted their electrons when the conduction band should receive any external electrical force in between them. The second one is nothing but the conduction band. It is the lowest unoccupied band that includes the energy levels of positive, that is nothing but the holes, or the negative, that is nothing but the free electrons charge carriers. It has conducting electrons resulting in the flow of current. The conduction band possesses high energy level and are generally empty. The conduction band in a semiconductors accepts the electrons from the valence band. The Fermi level, denoted by EF, is present between the valence and conduction bands. It is the highest occupied molecular orbital at absolute zero. The charge carriers in this state have their own quantum states and generally do not interact with each other. When the temperature rises above absolute zero, these charge carriers will begin to occupy states above Fermi level. In a p-type semiconductor, there is an increase in density of unfilled states, thus accommodating more electrons at the lower energy levels. However, in an n-type of a semiconductor, the density of states increases, therefore accommodating more electrons at high energy levels. Due to the Fermi level, we have defined there are two types of semiconducting materials according to their own quantum states and the charge carriers present in that material. When the temperature rises above absolute zero, the charge carriers will begin to occupy states above the Fermi level. Due to that, in the p-type of semiconductor, there is increase in density of unfilled states. Thus, it should be creates and more electrons at lower energy levels. However, in another way, in a n-type of semiconductor, the density of state increases by accommodating more electrons at higher energy levels. The properties of a semiconductors. The semiconductors can conduct electrically under preferable conditions or circumstances. This unique property makes it an excellent material to conduct electricity in a controlled manner as required. Unlike conductors, the charge carriers in semiconductors arise only because of external energy, that is thermal agitation. It causes a certain number of valence electrons to cross the energy gap and jump into a conduction band, leaving an equal amount of unoccupied energy states, that is nothing but the holes. The conduction due to the electrons and holes are equally important. The next property of semiconducting material is that the resistivity is having 10.5 to 106 ohm meter. The conductivity of semiconducting material is 105 to 10 raised to 6 mho per meter. The temperature coefficient of resistance is negative and the current flow is due to electrons and holes. Now, the next important question is that why does the resistivity of semiconductors go down with temperature? The most important question as the conceptual point of view. Why does the resistivity of semiconductors go down with temperature? The answer is that The difference in resistivity between conductors and semiconductors is due to their differences in a charge carrier's density. The most important parameter regarding with the difference in conductor and semiconductor. Due to their difference in charge carrier's density, as we can consider the example of that particular sentence is that in a conductance, the charge carriers are only electrons present in that material, because in purely metal, and we have already discussed this part in unit number 1, that is conducting properties of a material. Any material should be called as a conductor when the electrons are moved in that particular type of material. Now, in that conducting material, the charge carriers or the electrons are flow when the external field is to be applied. In that conducting materials, only electrons are present. No any holes should be present in that material. But in a semiconducting material, the charge carrier density is becomes and electrons and holes pairs. Because of that, there should be difference in a resistivity, that is nothing but the opposition to the flow of current in conductor and semiconductor material. So this is how this parameter, that is density in charge carriers, this parameter should be differ semiconducting material from simple conducting material. The resistivity of semiconductors decreases with temperature because the number of charge carriers increases rapidly with increase in temperature, making the fractional change, that means the temperature coefficient should be negative. As we all know, the resistivity of semiconductors are dependent on a temperature because the number of charge carriers increases rapidly with increase in a temperature. So some important properties of semiconducting materials are: the semiconductor acts like an insulator at 0 Kelvin. On increasing the temperature, it works as a conductor. Due to their exceptional electrical properties, semiconductors can be modified by doping to make semiconductor device suitable for energy conversion, switches and amplifiers. The semiconducting materials have lesser power losses. Semiconductors are smaller in size and possess less weight. Their resistivity is higher than that of a conductors but lesser than that of insulators. The resistance of semiconducting material decreases with the increase in temperature and vice versa. The next point is the types of semiconductors. Now we all know about the semiconducting materials is the material which will be having the properties of conducting and insulating materials. The most widely used semiconducting materials can be classified according to this type of classification. Now the semiconducting materials is having two types according to the doping, that is intrinsic semiconductor, and the next one, that is extrinsic semiconductor. The intrinsic semiconductor is nothing but the pure form of a material, that is either germanium or silicon, whereas in extrinsic semiconductor there should be some doping process available in that material. It should be considered as an germanium or silicon but with impurities. The extrinsic semiconductor further classified according to the N-type and P-type semiconductor, whereas the N-type of semiconductor should be considered pentavalent impurity and the P-type of semiconducting material should include trivalent impurity into that semiconducting material. So up to this part we have just close today's session over here. If you have any query regarding with these points, kindly ask to me uh, in my personal number. Okay, thank you for attending this session. Thank you very much.